called the smoke. The little house among trees by the lake. From the roof, smoke rises. Without it, how dreary would be house, trees, and lake. How dreary would this building be without our people in it? Let's take a few moments and look around, look at the pews, look outside of the windows, find the little whiff of spirit that connects each of us with the people surrounding us and the bar that is holding us. For quite a long time, and it's the building sermon. And I'm part of the building committee being the chair this year. And we all think that the building is an extremely important part of what we do around here. I have a quote by Stuart Brand, says, "Buildings tell stories if they're allowed to, if their past is flaunted rather than concealed." A sacred building is a bridge between liminality and embeddedness. A sacred building is meant to provide both. Ceremonies in the sanctuary ritualize rite of passage and guide us through the seasons. Community interaction with the building created the sacredness. And the building and the grounds hold us through this rite of passage and into the Beacon community. For visitor and friend who enter this sacred space, both the building and the community present and represent what Beacon is about. And as I was researching this sermon, I came across a book by the title of How Buildings Learn by Stuart Brand. And in it I found a quote by Brian Eno, a British musician, producer, political activist, etc. And I think that fits our relationship with our church quite well. Our barn. We are convinced by things that show internal complexity, that show the traces of an interesting evolution. Those signs tell us we might be rewarded if we accorded our trust. An important aspect of design is the degree to which the object involves you in its own completion. Some work invites you into itself by not offering a finished, glossy, one-reading-only surface. This is what makes whole building interesting to me. Well, to Brian Eno, but to me too. I think that humans have a taste for things that not only show that they have been through a process of evolution, but it also shows they are still part of one. And the book is very interesting, and I gathered an handful of other things from it, specifically some adjectives that pertain to buildings that belong and respond to the people who care for them, which I offer to you as we reflect together about what makes our building important to us and look at ways to deepen the relationship. And I'm saying relationship. To me, our building as a soul or a personality, and this is the main theme of this sermon. So back from Stuart Brand. Buildings that are cared for don't necessarily have a distinguished look, but they have a soul. Some words for these are experienced, wise, subtle, savvy, idiosyncratic, resilient, and set in their ways. Since ancient times, humans have sought a relationship with the place they lived in, and they have created relationships. Since ancient times, humans have recognized that places have personalities and understood the inherent sacredness of spaces that provide us protection, comfort, safeties, and way to support, or actually create, our communities. If we go back in the days, the Romans worshipped the Lares and Penates, seemingly minor deities who were not the protagonists of great mythological adventures. They presided over the heart, the warm and life-giving center of any house, no matter how humble. They were given small daily offers of food, wine, incense, and flowers. Interestingly, when not tended, the lares may transform into lemures, were lares that have become feral because they have not been properly cared for, and they came back to disrupt the household. Also interestingly, one of the most important temples in Rome was devoted to these minor deities, and as they were perceived as protecting the foundation of the city and the republic. The European folklore, as we heard from Joanne, is also rich with minor gods or spirits that dwell in the between spaces of human abodes. They're called broonis in Scotland, brownie or hob in England, the kobold, everybody knows about kobolds in Germany, of course, duende or trasgu in Spain and Portugal, domovoi in the Slavic countries, nisse, tomte, tontu, those are from the Swedish and the Finnish area. Husvatir in Norway. Probably I pronounced that correct, and somebody will, come back to me when I get home. In Japan, the Shinto tradition highlights the spiritual nature of objects, and how the continuous tending to the building and the grounds represent a form of embodied worships that builds the spiritual weight of something that is more than a mere object in very significant ways. If you have seen any of the movies by Miyazaki or Studio Ghibli, thinking Totoro and Spirited Away mainly at the moment, but all of them, you have seen a representation of these minor, sometimes major, spirits that are embodied in the objects, the building, the landscape of Japan. And we, of course, see the complete opposite of these approaches in the Mac mansions that surrounds us in the suburbs, built fast on the premises of making profit. Those are buildings precisely built to fulfill a very standardized and diluted presentation of social status, and at the same time are easily disposable. That's probably a conversation for another time. Now, I also know that for some folks around here, folklore is just a whimsical distraction, and I know that you know that I know who you are. So it is worth taking a stroll also on the social sciences side of this topic. One that was actually one of my favorite areas of research in my short stint in academia, and it's material culture. Material culture refers to the physical, tangible artifacts created and modified by humans, specifically looking at how we imbue them with meaning. One of the crucial abilities of humans is creating objects that carry meaning and information. There are several layers to this process that connect the form of an object with its function. The better the form, the better the object carries the function. See that little bell that we have on the altar? That is an example of an object where form and function are perfectly integrated. The sound is pristine. On the other hand, we all had to fight at some point with a tool that was not well designed, a door that didn't open the way it was expected, a surface that was either too thick or too slick or too sticky, and many bad software application interfaces. For those who are fascinated as myself about this crucial misalignment between the form and the function of everyday objects, I recommend Donald Norman's The Design of Everyday Things. It's a book from the 80s, it's fantastic. Everyday things carry crucial information on how we perform tasks that allow us to perform them without thinking, if they work. You may all have noticed that in the new bathroom downstairs, The light switch is hidden behind the door because the electrician made a measurement for a regular door, but we installed a larger one to make the bathroom accessible. We installed a larger door to make the bathroom accessible, and the electrician just didn't think about it. We tend not to think about accessibility until we find ourselves specifically needing it.
Right.
When the building is more accessible, those who do not have access issues keep navigate the way they always did. But those who need this accommodation can move around and feel that the space is welcoming because they have been included in the design before they were even here. So think about this for a moment. Because we can all become disabled, and we all will become disabled at a certain point. That's a fact. The building carries the intention of the buildings in a very material, embedded way. And this doesn't stop at accessibility. I used to be a fan of minimalism because it seems to embody spiritual sublimation, detachment from the material aspect of life, and a way to show status that was not tied to the possession of objects. Until I realized that I like artifacts. And once we think of it, the minimalism that stems from the Western Enlightenment and rationalism diminishes and ridicules any cultural manifestation that is not Western, not upper middle class, not wealthy. When we pay attention to material culture, we let things, objects, artifacts, thingamajiggers, that word, tell us the stories and the intention of the people who either made them or used and care for them. We hold something in our hands that carries a fragment of the spirit of other people. And so here we are. And for those who are online, you know where we are. We are looking at a building that is a manifestation of what this congregation has been, is, and wants to be. Many of us remember the struggle to fix the ceiling and the roof. And also, some member crawling under the roof and over the ceiling, and I was terribly scared about that. Many also remember how cold the sanctuary was before we fixed the windows. And some of us have a not-so-secret dream to be one day able to update the attic and make it accessible and usable. In the here and in the now, between these walls, what we are as a congregation is embedded, presented, and represented in the building. And this is the Buildings and Grounds sermon. And my goal today is to make the building ministry as visible as possible. So we stand on sacred ground, consecrated by ourselves, and all the others that have been here before us, including the cows in what is now the social hall. As you probably know, what now is Beacon, the barn church, used to be a dairy barn. And then the Presbyterians first converted it into a church, and when they moved up north, just one block from us, the Emerson Church bought it and reconsecrated the building. And then in 2014, if I remember it correctly, Emerson and Payne Creek joined to create Beacon. We stand on sacred ground because over the years, our barn has held our hopes, our emotions, our grief, our joy, the music performed by the choir, and the song we shared. Even the less perfect notes, that the ones who are not musically blessed among us, nonetheless elected to share with the entire congregation, make it somehow more meaningful, more soulful. So, first of all, let's take another few moments of silence together and use them to thank the building for holding us. and there is a chance the building is thanking us back. Next, I want to acknowledge the people who take care of the building. Kim, our administrative assistants who keep tabs on anything that happens around here. Brett, our custodian, who makes sure that we find everything clean when we come here on Sundays. Bridget, our minister, who spends a lot of time in between these walls taking care of the congregation, and also have a number of menial chores that are not part of her contract, and she just takes care of those too very silently. And of course the Buildings and Ground Committee, which I happen to chair this year. So raise your hand if you're here, and for those of you who are online, we recognize you. So Marie is online, and she also takes care of aesthetics together with Melanie. Joni is in charge of the Memorial Garden. Max, Alan, Tom, and Mark, Harvey, and Mike Talarico, who doesn't come to the meetings but is always available to fix things. And please note that this is indeed a possibility. Working without having to come to the meetings is totally legit and a very common way to contribute to buildings and grounds. And note another thing. You will not notice the things that have been done. You will only notice the things that are left to be done, because tasks done become unseen, but there is somebody sitting here in the pews who, at a certain point, miraculously took care of them. Otherwise, things will slowly start to fade. Now let's go back to the ministry aspect. Our care for the building is what makes it ours. Our care for the building is the foundation that makes the building sacred and allows us to experience the sacred between the walls, or when we walk in the backyard. Our care for the building reflects the way we want to present ourselves to the larger community, and our care for the building is an essential aspect of how we create a truly welcoming space. The generosity of members and friends is what keeps the congregation going. And the board works hard to make sure we do not abuse the generosity. But there are times, however, when we need extra support, like now. And this is what we will be working on until the end of the year. As you all know, we were finally able to get started on the bathroom renovation, and we had enough cash in our reserves to get the job done in the spring, with the idea that we would then raise funds to complete the work, refill the emergency fund, and possibly do some additional work in the social hall. And then the front sign broke. So between the bathroom and the sign, we face a total of $47,000 in costs. We had a task force, Joanne, Marie, Max, myself, that coordinated the work for the social hall bathroom. The cost of the bathroom renovation was $20,000. We completed it in time and within budget, thanks to the extra work put in by Marie and Max, who did all the painting and finishing, and then thanks to the volunteers who gathered to clean up and reorganize the pantry and the kitchen. And you are here in the world, volunteers quite a lot of time at this point, because that's how we run. Yeah. The sign will be under construction soon. Ask Max for details. There is another task force for that too, Mike, Harvey, Max, who looked into vendors, compared options, provided feedback to the board, and will supervise the work as it gets done in the next few months. We have not had an internal fundraiser in many, many years. The last one was for the windows. The entire roof project was completed using money that Beacon has set aside for building work, asking donations from friends outside of the community. We raised, I think, think at least $15,000 that way at the time, and with a generous loan from one of our members, which will be paying off very soon. So I am asking on the behalf of the Buildings and Ground Committee and of the entire Beacon congregation as represented by the board for several specific actions. First and foremost, if you can, donate to the fundraiser. We need to raise about $30,000 more to fix the sign, add furniture to the bathroom, and properly set up the coffee area, and replenish the building fund so that we are prepared for the next inevitable emergency. The new sign will spare our volunteers, again, mostly Max and Harvey, but Brigitte did it a number of times too. I did it, and in the winter was not pleasant. So the new sign will spare our volunteers from fighting the elements every week, but like any other project, it will require collective support to be completed. We are approaching this with two distinct paths: internal fundraising from members and friends, and an external campaign. Internally, it's pretty easy. Donate what you can, give a check to Paula, who is over there. Sooner is better than later. We have a little incentive in the form of a dinner hosted by Max and myself for 8 lucky Beacon members who contribute to the fundraiser, and we will randomly select the lucky ones once we reach our goals. Externally, we decide not to set up a GoFundMe campaign, we being Paul and I in this case, because we were discussing the logistics and we realized that GoFundMe was not the best tool, but we have a convention already with Raisely. Raisely provides the connection directly from our website and allows payment through all the traditional online tools, and the funds go directly to our bank account. Everything is already set up. This is a company that specializes working with non-profits. The message for the external fundraiser focuses specifically over the social hall and the completion of the bathroom project, and we will set up a page for it. As any external fundraising campaign, there are two purposes. Material support, always very important, and the other hand, community outreach, meaning we have a way to show the community outside us, your friends, your colleagues, any association that you also connect with, to say, hey, Beacon is doing stuff over there, Beacon is open for work and for worship, and Beacon has spaces that are welcoming for all. The fundraiser, the online fundraiser, is a simple tool that allows everybody, even the shy ones, to reach out to friends and colleagues and associates of any kind, explain that you care for this congregation and for our community, and ask for small donations. Spread the word. We will give you the means to do it soon. So to summarize this all, the building will continue to hold us, and it is our spiritual and material responsibility to take care of it. If you have money, we have a fundraiser. Please give. If you can work, we have plenty of chores, maintenance, and work days, and you can check with Marie or Max for specific tasks. If you can do both, be aware that what you do in the building and for the building is an essential part of what makes us able to sustain ourselves and grow our community. And we will provide more information in the upcoming newsletter about the public-facing fundraising. Now, for the closing hymn, it is number 317, We Are Not Our Own.